All right, what is up? We are live. A few things to cover that went on, I guess, in between today and yesterday. One thing, Cam Waters, it's official. He will be running for RFK at the road course. One of not like the greatest kept secret because we talked about this in the preseason. I want to say, yeah, he's been linked to RFK for a while. But we do have some more apparently merger rumors. Apparently, uh, it's not even a new rumor. We've talked about this. I talked about this when a colleague actually changed their logo during the SVG announcement when they announced SVG was going to drive for them in the Xfinity Series and also was going to make some select starts in the Cup Series. They changed their logo to that blue and black of Trackhouse. So this rumor has been around ever since then. But it was mentioned by Brett Griffin on the Door Bumper Clear podcast that he's going to have Chris Rice on the show and ask him directly if the merger rumors are true. So Trackhouse and Colleague merging becomes a story because I don't think anybody thinks that Daniel Hemrick is going to keep his seat if he merges. So that would open up two seats, and obviously Shane Van Gisbergen and Zane Smith would most likely fill those seats. If you're looking at it that way, so that seems to be as far as that one goes. If that happens, I think it's pretty cut and dry as to what will happen over there. A few people saying Daniel Suarez is on the hot seat again. I don't see that happening at all. Trackhouse has consistently said Daniel Suarez is not on the hot seat. He's the guy that they wanted to build the organization around. Initially, he was their first driver, so I don't think he's going anywhere. Ross Chastain not going anywhere. So if they do merge, I think it'll be a good thing for Colleague. I think it'll be a good thing for Trackhouse to have some extra cars out there on the track. And certainly Justin Marks, with all of his connections in the Fortune 500 company realm, I think it would be he would be able to get sponsorship and all that for everybody involved. And of course, we know what Shane Van Gisbergen can do as well. So I think overall that one's pretty cut and dry. It's not as convoluted as the who would fill the seats over there at Stewart Haas Racing if they sell out. Who's going to buy everything? That one's way more convoluted. Where would Noah Gragson go? Where would Chase Briscoe go? Where would whoever you want to throw in there? Who would go where? I think that one's more convoluted because you don't know if it's going to be SHR merging with Front Row Motorsports or if SHR is going to sell off their charters and Front Row Motorsports is only going to buy one of them and maybe just buy the buildings. Like that one's convoluted. That one could go either way. But either way, two charters are going to be up for grabs over there in that particular deal. So that one's far more convoluted. But I think the Trackhouse Colleague deal is far more cut and dry. You're just going to plug in the other two Trackhouse drivers that they already have under contract. And I think it's probably most likely going to happen. I don't see any other reason Colleague would have changed their logo to the blue and black when they did in the preseason when they announced that Shane Van Gisbergen was driving for them. Like, you could have a driver drive for Spire has Zane Smith driving for them. They didn't change their logo, of course, to blue and black like Colleague did. So I have a pretty good feeling that this one is probably going to happen, but speculation. So we'll wait it out and we'll see what actually happens. And the other did make us, I guess I covered it a little bit at the end of the other episode. The in-season tournament where you're going to have 32 drivers and each race is going to be an elimination race until there's one driver left, and that driver will get $1 million. NASCAR is trying something to get some ratings. It's just another, in my opinion, it's just another way of doing the Winston Million. I don't think it's going to get the viewership that they want to see. I don't think it's going to get anything like the NBA in-season tournament, which is where I think it came from. A lot of people want to give credit to Denny Hamlin, but I think he got it from the NBA. So technically credit the NBA, I would say. But I think even in the NBA, I don't think it's something that'll cover. The criticism I have of it, and I'm for it. I hope it works. I don't think it will, but I think after 2 or 3 seasons, it'll sort of fade into the background. But I hope it works. I hope I'm wrong about it. That being said, my two criticisms of it are this: it's another thing that the fans didn't ask for. Like, the fans just want the short track package to be fixed, and the fans also want a point system that rewards a champion that makes sense. Even people that want the playoff system, they want a better version of the playoff system. So the fact that NASCAR focused on this because it has to do with a TV partner, and they're not immediately as rapid to fix the things that the fans dislike, I think it's concerning because it shows where NASCAR's mindset is at. And if you keep ignoring the fans like NASCAR is ignoring the fans, then eventually the TV money is going to go away too, because the TV money is only there because NASCAR does have very good viewership. And this problem goes all the way back to the original chase. Remember that when you called it the chase and they didn't want you to call it the playoffs? Now they want you to call it the playoffs. They've officially changed the name of it when they changed it from the chase to the playoffs. Originally, when the chase came out, all the fans wanted in that moment was to add more points for a win in the old Latford system. They didn't want this chase format that Brian France came out with. So once again, NASCAR has a history of ignoring what the fans want and then saying, "Hey, look at this. We got you this thing." This is just another, because that was also for TV too as well. So, and what we got with that particular chase format is Jimmy Johnson won 6 in a row. And since that chase format that fans didn't want, and Jimmy Johnson winning 6 in a row, fans getting bored of seeing the same thing over and over again. Those two things, I think, have driven away more fans than ever helped. And there are people that are like, "Oh, well, it's far more complex than that. There's so many more other reasons as to why fans are not watching NASCAR like they used to." They can make that argument and they can point to what they want to, but they have no more facts and they have no more data than I have. And the fact remains that since the playoffs have started, NASCAR viewership has been in decline. And part of it is NASCAR fans didn't want the playoffs. They just wanted more points for a win. And the other part of it is, well, Jimmy Johnson stunk up the show and won 6 in a row. Nothing against Jimmy Johnson. I mean, he did what he was supposed to do. But, you know, after winning 6 in a row, people don't want to see that anymore. You're going to see the same thing over there in F1. If Max Verstappen continues to dominate like he's dominating, F1 viewership is going to take at least a little bit of a dip. Things just aren't interesting if the same thing keeps happening over and over again. So that is my actual concern, is once again, NASCAR hasn't listened to what the fans want and they've thrown another gimmick at it. I don't know. That's just that's my feelings on it. And once again, I'm not against the in-season tournament or whatever you want to call it. My concern is NASCAR immediately addressed that because it was a TV concern, but the things the fans want, NASCAR continues to drag their feet on and not fix. More horsepower, tires with fall off, better short track racing. NASCAR hasn't done anything about that. So that's my concerns about that. And I think that's the main news. And the other thing I wanted to touch on with that is the timing of this news was also stupid. You have Brad Keselowski, a car owner, a team owner, and a driver, winning a race. And let me just read off the names on this list that Brad Keselowski joined. This should be the biggest story. NASCAR should have held this story about the stupid in-season playoff thing back for at least a week, because look at this legitimate story of achievement that NASCAR has ignored to push this in-season playoff narrative. Look at the list he joins. Richard Petty, as a driver owner, has 60 wins, 4 championships. This is since 1972, by the way. And I got this from the NASCAR hotspot on Instagram, I want to say. Tony Stewart had 16 wins, 1 championship. Ricky Rudd, 6 wins. Darrell Waltrip, 6 wins. Alan Kowicki, 5 wins and 1 championship. Jeff Bodine, 4 wins. Bobby Allison, 3 wins. James Hilton, 2 wins. Lake Speed and Dave Marcus now join Brad Keselowski with 1 win as an owner driver. Look at that list right there. Look at the legendary names on that list. We should be talking about Brad Keselowski winning as an owner driver and how unique and rare that is. But instead, we're talking about an in-season tournament and a possible, a possible merger that hasn't even officially been announced yet. We haven't even we've gotten to a point where we're more concerned about the rumors and stuff like that, and the drama and stuff like that, and the gimmicks and stuff like that. Brad Keselowski just joined a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 people now with Brad Keselowski since 1972. We should be talking about this all day, but instead we're talking about in-season, in-season playoff, whatever you want to call it. So that's my concern. We're turning far more interest into the entertainment. Not NASCAR, I should say, is having far more interest in gimmicks and stuff like that when they've got a great story in Brad Keselowski, and they're not pushing that great story with what Brad Keselowski did at all. So, all right, let's jump into the comments and see what you guys want to talk about. Let's see, here first and likely to be the last to return, as I'll forget in about 20 minutes, says E. Damon. I appreciate your goldfish brain. I understand it's so hard with social media, man. Social media is made to grab your attention, so I'm the same way. The whole Trackhouse Colleague merger and SHR selling thing is making my head hurt. So many different scenarios, says one wise guy. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But I don't think that has as many scenarios as the SHR front row deal. I think that one's going to be pretty clean. I think you know which 4 drivers are going in there. Daniel Hemrick's probably going to be out of a ride. And the only other driver I can say for sure that's probably going to be out of a ride is probably Ryan Preece if he doesn't slide in there over there in the 21 for the Wood Brothers. Bro, why'd you shave that glorious beard? I don't know. I don't know. Just felt like it. Go Nix says in between the lanes. Why is the in-season tournament a thing so popular? I don't get it. I'm willing to give it a chance, but I think the sport has too many gimmicks as it is. That's kind of what like it's just another thing that we didn't ask for, and I just went on a whole spiel about it. But you know, it's just another thing the fans didn't ask for. So instead of giving the fans kind of what they wanted, we've gone to another gimmick. I hope it works though. Like I'm not ever betting against NASCAR or wanting NASCAR to do poorly. I just hope it works. Who's the kid? Says Timber Ace. Appreciate it. SVG should have a ride for the All-Star Colleague and Dinger. SVG at Coda. I could have done it again. Yeah, it's interesting that he doesn't have a ride for the All-Star race. You would think they would give him one. My God, you got a haircut, says William Wagon. I didn't get a haircut. I just shaved the scruffy beard off. As long as the 2025 broadcast don't pull all the focus on the tournament, I'm okay with it. I still don't love it, says Napa Racing fan. Yeah, and the other criticism I have of it is eventually there's going to be somebody running in 27th place, but they're going to be running because of that bracket challenge, and they're going to be running for $1 million. You're not going to be able to really fault them for it, but they're going to be running for 27th, trying to go for $1 million, and there's going to be a dude with like a 3-second lead, and they're going to wreck each other racing for $1 million in that stupid tournament. And the guy with a 3-second lead is going to have his 3-second lead erased and possibly lose the race because 2 guys racing for 27th for $1 million for a chance at $1 million wrecked each other. That is the other obvious and glaring flaw with it as well. What's up, Clean Cut BB? Still need to add the mohawk. Well, I don't know about the mohawk, but I think the deal was a mullet. We'll have to come up with some type of challenge. Maybe if we hit 15K, I'll do a mullet for a month or 2. Howdy from the Great White North, says Robin Marks. We do have a poll question too. Favorite owner driver in the modern era? Tony Stewart, Bradley Aaron Keselowski, Robbie Gordon, James Dennis Allen Hamlin. So there you go. That is the deal right there. There is the poll question. Got a bunch of people texting and calling me right now. So it's everything going on at the same time. Let's see. Howdy from the Great White North. What's up, Robin Marks? What's up, Canada? Apparently Dale Jr. Was on the Rich Eisen show. I didn't watch it yet. Says in between the lanes. Be a good time. I haven't watched the Rich Eisen show in a hot minute. So might be a good time to check back in on old Rich Eisen, see what he's doing up there in Los Angeles. Let's see, 2025 Coke 600 on Amazon likely means Easter off weekend, and IndyCar to Fox, NBA likely to NBC, and splitting from TNT. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know about any of that. I'm just going to let it play out. Did you catch the Indy highlights? Larson got a few laps before the rain came in. I haven't seen anything about that just yet. Seriously, good to see you, BB. The weather looks rough for the Cars Tour race. More expected tomorrow. Good call, dipping out, or somebody did you a favor. Yeah, the weather is not looking good, and they can't run it on Thursday, according to everything that they're telling the Cars Tour guys. So it's looking like it'll probably be a Monday after the All-Star. So they'll probably drive up there for no reason, have to go home, and then come back on a Monday if they still want to do it. Dale Jr. on Rich Eisen is certainly interesting. I'll have to watch it. I don't give Hamlin credit for anything but crying, says T-Van. If 2 weeks in a row the Fords were actually competitive, they're doing something. Yeah, I mean, I think they've been pretty solid here. I'm surprised the winless streak lasted as long as it did, but it was an interesting story. So I had to, I knew it was getting close to coming to an end. So I had to make my episode about it because I had a pretty good idea it was coming to an end. I waited one race too long. Like if playoffs have little to no legitimacy, especially with a one race championship. Yeah. So I think even people that like the playoffs, that's what I'm getting at. Even people that like the playoffs want at least a 3-race playoff for the championship. I don't think anybody is super in love with the 1-race playoff, except for maybe the TV and media companies. But what a three race playoff would actually make you watch three races? As the playoff deal currently stands now, you only have to watch four races: the championship race and the three cutoff races. That's it. You can skip the rest of them, and you'll still be good to go. But if you did it that way, you would have to watch basically the three championship races because you would have to see where your driver is going, and then the cutoff races. So I think it would actually add more to it, viewership wise, if they did it that way. Of course, the Latford system. I'm old, so I want it to go back to a full season championship. Kind of like the Premier League points are set up, or F1 points. You just have a table of points that's season long. Just think Larson wouldn't be a Cup Series champion without beating Truex on pit road in 2021 at Phoenix. Amazing manufactured Game 7 moment. Not just glad the best driver and team won the title, says Napa Racing fan. Not only that, his car wasn't even that fast until he got some damage and sort of curled the back bumper. The back bumper luckily got curled out. They gave him some downforce because even before that, he didn't even have a car to get up there and stay in front of him. So yeah, it was a total team effort, and glad he won it because he won, like he legitimately won everything you could win that year. So it is what it is. You see biggest takeaways from Sunday's race besides Tyler about to turn into a lawn dart. Ryan Blaney, like people are making way too big a deal over the Ryan Blaney William Byron thing. William Byron made it three wide, and they're putting all the blame on William Byron. At any point, Martin Truex Jr. or Ryan Blaney could have let out of the gas when they saw William Byron come up. So you can look at it two ways. You can be like, that's all William Byron's fault if you're Martin Truex Jr. or Ryan Blaney in that situation, but you can reverse Uno it too. So in my opinion, it was a racing move. You saw the guy down there, you saw him slide up, lift. If you're in the middle, lift. Always, to me, always if you're in the middle of three wide, lift. But that's just my opinion on it. I'm not and I understand 100% Ryan Blaney and Martin Truex Jr. being mad. I would be mad if I was on the other end of it too. But it was pretty early in the race. Yeah, Byron made an aggressive move, but at the same time, you're in the bad position, not William Byron. Lift. I know this car sucks and you can't pass with it. Lift, and you get to race more of the race. Let's see. So that argument can easily be made as well. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody's like, well, it's William Byron's fault. I'm just making the opposite argument for the sake of argument. I'm not a Brad fan, but more neutral now than in 2014. Totally respect what he's done with Roush. It's impressive and kind of cool to see. I'm telling you, like he took an organization that was on the brink. They were not good. Like they were just not good. They were not doing well. They and he turned them around. He totally turned them around. He brought everything he learned at Penske and turned them around. So I don't think he gets enough credit for that. And like I said, he's on a list of 10 other people, including himself, makes 11 of driver owners that have won races now. So I mean, since 1972, I think that's just a really big deal. And they're just not. They're not. They're not pumping it up. They're more interested in this TV deal and this stupid. I should stop saying stupid. They're more interested in the TV deal and this gimmick of a in-season tournament than an actual achievement they had on the racetrack that they should be talking about nonstop. I don't get it, man. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Thank you, Denny Hamlin, for bringing up the tournament ideas. Says Ben Kluver. I agree. Keselowski should be held to a higher standard. Yeah. I mean, I just don't get why we're talking. We're not. It should be a much bigger story, in my opinion. Brad Keselowski will be lucky to make the round of 12, says Ben Kluber. I don't know. Have you been watching the last few races? The guy, aside from DNFs, if you look at his finishes, RFK's here to stay. They're looking really good this season. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. The best was Kowicki, says Perry Earl. The schedule is slowly leaking out. Yeah, hopefully we'll get the schedule. I feel like Mexico is going to be on there. The Madhouse will be on there. Bowman Gray, whatever. I don't know. I think all the important stuff is already leaked. Bowman Gray Clash could be for entertainment purposes, especially in February. Gluck said high temperatures are around 47 degrees in February. Not good for the fans. Yeah, but that place is always packed out, so it'll be packed out regardless. It was on. I think there was a ton of people, even though it was like a closed practice when they first tested the car, the new next gen car. There were still people there for that. So I think it'll be well attended regardless. If they could have it there every year, and I think it would be well attended. Race fans, we are tired of the gimmicks. NASCAR, let's have a tournament. Yeah, NASCAR is like, oh, we've got one playoff and you guys don't like that. Well, we'll give you two. Since you don't like it, we're going to give you two. NASCAR is dropping the ball on BK just like they do every single champion of the last 4 years. You'd have to remind me that Blaney won the championship last year. I mean, that's a fair statement. And not only that, you'd have to remind people that Ross Chastain won the last race. It's a double whammy on that one. It's almost like a few people called this RFK rise when it wasn't popular. LOL, says T-Van. I knew they would get better. Like they couldn't get any freaking worse, but I knew they would get. But the fact that he's done it this fast, I thought it would take him at least 2 more seasons. I thought he would eventually get there. It would take him at least 2 more seasons, but he's turned it around 2 seasons faster than I thought he would, and he's got both cars competing for the championship now. Bowman got his 8th top 10 finish, says one wise guy. Cool Prime is doing a Dale documentary. Never enough of those. That's the other thing I forgot to mention. Amazon, not only the Dale documentary, but Amazon Prime is going to do a whole bunch of other documentaries for NASCAR. So I think that's really cool as well. Anyone else think BB should be on a Little League team now, says T-Van. Where was Corey Heim in the Xfinity? I thought he had a ride, says Cheese. He's got a ride for 2311, I want to say. He's going to be in the number 50 for 2311, if I'm not mistaken. Sarcastic, Bowman needs to be dumped. So far behind his 3 teammates who are top 5 in points. He's 9th. So awful, says Napa Racer fan. Yeah, I get what you're saying there. Like, people are always saying Alex Bowman is doing a horrible job. He's 9th in points. Like, I don't ever get those. Yeah, I'm with you. I understand. Do not mess around with Prosper, Texas' own Chris Buescher, built like a lineman. McDowell setting himself up to be Honda's number 1 driver. Says I like dislike. I'm with you on that. I think Spire Trackhouse, and if Colleague merges with Trackhouse, which I think is pretty close to actually going to be a thing, I think they're all going to go to Honda. I'm pretty sure they're all going to go to Honda and they'll just be the number 1 teams for Honda basically. 2025 Coke 600 on Amazon is confirmed. Hey, there you go. I like the idea of an in-season tournament, but maybe make it like a mini Winston Points style season for the TNT Amazon deal. Do a mini championship for those 10 races to emphasize consistency. Yeah, I mean, it'll get stale after a couple of seasons and they'll panic and they'll probably change it to something else. But I don't know of any other way, because if you think about the Winston Million, the Noble 5, and all those things like that, if you think about them on their 4th or 5th season, nobody ever really talked about them anymore. So that's the only reason I'm saying I think it'll run hot for a couple seasons. Then it'll just be background noise that fans don't really pay attention. Once the newness wears off, all gimmicks, it'll just be something that's kind of in the background. So it'll run awesome. It'll probably be a big deal next year. Then it'll slowly become less and less of an important thing. Just like the Clash at the Coliseum, biggest deal in the world the first year, right? Then every subsequent year after that, it got just less and less attention, not only from NASCAR, but from fans. Haven't watched Dan Patrick show in a while, says In Between the Lanes. Yeah, once they took it off the 101, man, it made it less accessible for me. And now I don't even have DirecTV. So, and he doesn't put his full shows on YouTube because I guess he's got the deal with Peacock or whatever. Thank you for bringing up the NASCAR betting for site. I'm not a fan for all this odds gambling talk media wide, says Sir Rooster. Do you think openly chatting about betting is good or bad? I basically give the stats and stuff like that. I've never felt like really great about giving who you should bet on and stuff like that. I tried it for a little while, but then I was like, you know what? Somebody might actually listen to me and spend some money on a bet. So I stopped doing it. But I do give the statistics so you can set your fantasy teams and stuff like that. But yeah, it's NASCAR is being paid handsomely by those particular sites and stuff like that. And that's why they and it's a big deal. Like a lot of people play it and stuff like that. But also I know a lot of people that can't handle it. So I pulled back on it. I did it a long time ago. But yeah, I don't go over who I would actually pick anymore, or I try not to. I might accidentally occasionally say, "Oh man, that's a good one." I would if I was, but I try to stay away from it. The playoffs discredits the more consistent teams. Says 1400 next gen. One wise guy also dropped the merch link, so if you want to check out the merch, and if you want to join the Discord, there is a link for that as well. We talk about I pretty much try to stay active on that all throughout the season while the races are going on. The playoffs discredits the more consistent teams. Yeah, it's a different way of going about having a championship. I don't particularly like it, but some people do. It's basically for ratings, but the ratings haven't followed, so I don't understand why they're so dead set on continuing with the playoffs. Because it's obviously the TV people like it. That's why they continue with it. Extra points for winning a race, says next gen. Yeah, that's 100% what people wanted all along. That's what people wanted all along, and NASCAR has continued to ignore that fact. We've been spot on with this Ford GTD RFK project, BB. We just pay attention, says Roofer. Yeah, I'm. They pretty much announced that they want to do an IMSA deal, and so it all pretty much lines up. Reddick's move on Busher was worse than Byron's early 3 wide move. Slide job failed terribly with 10 laps to go. 17 and 45 could have been side by side for a few more laps, says Napa Racing Fan. Yeah, I think Tyler Reddick got nervous. He knew the 6 was coming. I think the 6 would have got by anyway. That's just my opinion. But Tyler Reddick knew the 6 was coming, and he knew he had to make something happen on that 17 because he was going to try to run away from the 17 so the 6 couldn't get to him. And he threw a bold move that had a low percentage of working, and it didn't work. And he took out both guys. And I don't blame Chris Buescher for being mad there. Don't mess around with Marietta, New Jersey's own Martin Truex Jr. Thoughts on Penske this season? They're just a little bit off. Every big team has an off year. This happens to be their off year. That being said, they had really fast cars. Ryan Blaney got caught up in that wreck, and Joey Logano had a speeding penalty on pit road, which is what cost him a good finish. But Joey Logano was going to finish probably in the top 10 somewhere. Jets open up against the 49ers on Monday Night Football this year. Says in between the lanes. All right, sounds good. Hopefully we beat your team there. But if not, it is what it is. Apparently, the in-season tournament makes the summer races more important and less dry. I don't know. Most tracks in summer have been great with the NASCAR Next Gen car. I mean, yeah, that's what they're trying to give the summer races people a reason to watch, and this is just something extra to spend money on as far as DraftKings goes. So to me, that's what it's all about. But they're trying to get a TV bump on it as well. I agree. Brad doesn't get the credit deserved for turning Roush's organization back into being competitive. Yeah, I mean, this should be a way bigger story than an in-season tournament, in my opinion. And once again, we're talking about an in-season tournament. You know what I mean? Instead of Brad Keselowski joining a list of 11 people, including himself now, that have been since 1972 that have been an owner driver. So I mean, like, it is what it is. It is what it is. Hello, everyone. What's up, David McSwain? Good to have you on here, my friend. Yeah, and I really wish this was the main thing we were talking about today, but instead we're talking about the extra money that somebody can win in an in-season tournament. And we're talking about Amazon TV deals and stuff like that. Brad Keselowski did something basically borderline historic, if not historic, and especially in this era with the bolt-on put together kit cars, it's pretty impressive in my opinion. But we'll see. We'll see if NASCAR rights the ship and starts talking about actual achievements on the racetrack as opposed to nonstop drama and gimmicks. I don't think Winston Million was really a gimmick, but added a bonus to win the Crown Jewel races. I'd rather have that than the tourney, says Napa Racing Fan. I mean, either way, you have to earn it. Like, you had to earn the Winston Million. You'll have to earn this million by winning 5 rounds of finishing in front of one other driver. It's a different way of doing it, but it's the same concept. You do still have to earn it. The only difference is this is going to be guaranteed. The Winston Million was never guaranteed. You had to be the original version of it. You had to be the man at 4 out of 5 Crown Jewel events, which is where the Crown Jewel events came from, because that's just what Winston picked. So it wasn't a guarantee every year. That's what made the Winston Million special. But then they were like, well, they did get gimmicky with it because, so this is why I call it a gimmick. They went to the No Bull 5. Well, the No Bull 5 was guaranteed every year. Every year somebody was going to win $1 million or had the chance to win $1 million or whatever. because it was just the top, basically the same thing as the Dash for Cash in the Xfinity series. So they did go gimmick with it by ensuring that it would happen every year. So that aspect of it was a gimmick. Same thing with this; they're ensuring that it happens every single year. So it's no longer an actual earned. It is an earned achievement because you've got to beat everybody, but it's not as hard to do. Whereas the original Winston Million was hard to do because you had to be the man at 4 out of 5 tracks, and I think only Bill Elliott pulled that off. I don't think anybody else pulled it off. I might be wrong about that. 6 and 17 are strong. Getting those Fords figured out, says Massey Ferguson. RFK has become. I'm not sure what it is, but now under a magnifying glass, looking for anything to penalize him. That could be the case. I don't know. I've never thought about that or looked into it. Sorry, I'm late. What's your take on the new tourney? BB says Dirty Death. I'm not against it. I just think it's a gimmick, and it's once again something that the fans didn't ask for, but NASCAR offered up. I'm not really interested, but I guess I'll get into it. Yeah, I just think it's another gimmick, and after 2 or 3 years, it'll stop being as important. Funniest thing I've seen all week, Chris talking to Tyler Reddick, who looks like an Oompa Loompa and was crying like a little girl. I'm sorry, I don't care about our etc. Please don't punch me, says E. Damon, which is funny at Junior Motorsports at that time, but I think he was with RCR at that time in 2019. 2019, yeah, he was with RCR. So it just shows you how much different he is with 2311 than he was at RCR. Just a different way of carrying himself. Nothing, no one's right or wrong. It's just interesting. One time a guy puts his hands on him and Tyler Reddick puts him on the ground. This time a guy puts his hands on Tyler Reddick and he leaves the helmet on. And to be fair, different size men, but Cole Custer's no slouch. Like Cole Custer's a decent sized gentleman as well. Everybody's a decent sized gentleman compared to Tyler Reddick. So that's why I bring it up. Talk about missing the days of when NASCAR had men, says E. Damon. So I guess you're talking about that list I ran down where Richard Petty, Tony Stewart, Ricky Rudd, Darrell Waltrip, Alan Kowicki, Jeff Bodine, Bobby Allison, James Hilton, Lake Speed, Brad Keselowski, and Dave Marcus, the only owner drivers since 1972 to also have a win while being an owner driver. Who would you put in the 21? Well, I hate that I think Harrison Burton came up too early. I'd like to see Harrison Burton continue his career in the Xfinity Series. I think he can. He's proven he can win down there. So I'd like to see him try to get his career back on track in the Xfinity Series. I hope he doesn't give up. But that being said, if you replace Harrison Burton, it would just be some combination of one of the guys from Stewart Haas Racing that are out. If you want to go with a Cup veteran, I think Noah Gragson would be a good pick. I think Josh Berry would be a good pick, and I think Chase Briscoe would be a good pick. That being said, if you want to go with a guy that's in the Xfinity Series, I think you've got to if you stay with Ford, you've got Riley Herbst that brings plenty of money, and you've also got Cole Custer who has proven that he can still get the job done in the Xfinity Series. And I think you've seen the 41 car has not improved with Cole Custer out of it. The 41 car has not improved since Kurt Busch left it. So I think Cole Custer would be another one you look at. And then you could look at, other guys if you want to buy out Toyota's contract on Corey Heim or somebody like that. Or if you want to talk to Sammy Smith and take him away from Chevrolet, I think those would be some of your other guys you could look at there. Elliott was the only one to win the original Winston Million, Daytona, Talladega, and Darlington. Okay, so maybe it was 3 out of 5. I just remember it was a X amount of races out of, I think, 5 Crown Jewels, if I'm not mistaken. I think Jeff Gordon got the Winston Million, but just Bill and Gordon, says McElhaney. Hi, everyone. Sorry I'm late on vacation down south. As much as many like the new season bracket, I view it as a distraction. How y'all doing? Says Chrome Diesel. Yeah, I think it's just another gimmick, and I think it'll run hot for a season or two. It'll be like the big thing that everybody talks about, but then it'll just like sort of fade and die out. Like people, I might look back on it with rose-colored glasses, but the No Bull 5 after 2 or 3 seasons, it really was not talked about all that much. Like just to be honest, and to just in the interest of consistency, this might be a me thing. I never paid attention to the No Bull 5. I never paid attention to the Winston Million because I was too young and didn't know about it. And I don't really pay attention to the Xfinity Dash for Cash. The way my mind is set up is you have a race team and your goal is to win the championship. And winning extra money is cool. It's a nice thing when it happens. But I can't for the life of me imagine going in there and taking my eyes off winning a championship any weekend just for the sole purpose of, hey, we've got to outrun Corey LaJoy or Denny Hamlin this week. We got to make that our main focus. We got to keep track of where Denny Hamlin or Corey LaJoy or whoever is in that bracket, right? Whoever's in that bracket, you got to beat. I can't fathom that as maybe putting my season to win the championship in jeopardy because I'm trying to beat this dude for $1 million. So I've never really paid attention to stuff like that. And I understand people that do. It's cool. It's another bragging right thing that you can brag about your driver won this or that. But just the way I'm set up, I've never ever thought about it. So it might be like just a flaw in my mentality. But I've always only cared about the championship and who wins the championship and who wins the most races. Those are the only two things that I ever really followed when I was watching the sport before I started a YouTube channel or whatever. Cassandra Keller, what's up, my friend? Hope you're doing good. What's up, Mr. Pearson? What's up, North Idaho as well? With Cassandra, I think race hub cancellation is a bigger story than in-season tournament. Says Napa Racing fan. Yeah, that's definitely one I haven't covered yet because I was busy last week. But it is interesting. I haven't covered it in the episode. I've covered it on the live streams. But yeah, that's it's interesting, and it shows where Fox's commitment level is with a production show like that. Whereas they think they can get the same amount of views with a lower cost production show like the Happy Hour with Kevin Harvick. So get ready if it works. If what Fox is doing works, get ready for a ton more podcasts. There's drivers. Tyler Reddick. If you're a Tyler Reddick fan, Tyler Reddick just started a YouTube channel, so check him out. Greg Biffle also started a YouTube channel, and get ready for more, not only drivers but more former media and stuff like that to get into the YouTube space and stuff like that. You're about to have way more shows than you've ever seen in your life, in my opinion. Let's see. Sandra Keller's going with Ryan Priest for the 21 because it used to be the real men that I raced. Not too many left anymore. We have mostly corporate boys now. Too many, says Diane. Yeah, that's another shift that the sport took. Basically, Jeff Gordon started taking it in this direction. He became the first sort of corporate entity in the Cup Series. Before that, it was all a blue collar sport. The emergence of Jeff Gordon is the emergence of a sort of a corporate superstar in NASCAR, and whereas the sport used to be mainly blue collar guys, now it is a mix of blue collar and corporate. But I would say there's far more corporate than blue collar out there right now. Apparently, the Biff has. Hey, there we go. In Between the Lanes. Apparently, the Biff has a YouTube channel. Says In Between the Lanes. Yeah, so check out the Biff and Tyler Reddick and give them a follow if you don't mind, because it's. I'll just be honest with you. Don't matter who you are. It's hard starting a YouTube channel. So those guys can need the bump for sure. Because last time I looked, they were both under 1,000. So that's not cool. We need to get them both at least over 1,000. So if you want to go over there and check them out, give them a subscribe. That would be much appreciated. The only in-season incentive, and don't forget to vote for Carson Hocevar for the All-Star race also. Let's see. The only in-season incentive I would be fine with is No Bull 5 from top 5 from previous Crown race eligible to race for $1 million to the next Crown Jewel, says Chrome Diesel. I don't know. I mean, you can go about it any way you want to go about it. Just as far as I'm concerned, I'm just not going to pay attention to it. Whoever wins it, I'll be like, hey, this guy won $1 million, but I'm not. I doubt very seriously after year one that I track it much. Just to be totally honest with you, watch the finalist win $1 million while running worse than 20th. Says Chrome Diesel. I mean, that could happen too. Do you have a particular driver you want to win the All-Star race, BB? Says In Between the Lanes. I don't know. I just want obviously I want somebody from RCR or one of the Kyles to win, or somebody from Legacy. But that aside from that, I just hope it's a really good race. That's what I'm hoping for. Do you think the All-Star race will be any good? I hope so. Hopefully the tire fall off will be significant. My only concern with the tire fall off is the All-Star race is broken up into so many stages. Are they going to have enough time for the tires to fall off? So that's going to be interesting as well. NASCAR needs to realize that I can no longer identify NASCAR drivers' cars on the tracks anymore due to the paint schemes changing. I never mind. Keep up with this new $1 million bracket, says E. Damon. Yeah, it's been a lot of change in a very short amount of time for a lot of people. The Xfinity Dash for Cash is boring or feels rigged. I don't know what their rules are to win for the Dash for Cash, but it can't be much. A few years ago, Gregson won it back to back, but never won a race, says Martin McElhaney. So it's basically the Dash for Cash is they have 5 or 6 races or however many are set up. Uh, and during the Dash for Cash, it's the drivers that finish first through fourth, I think. Uh, they go to the next race, and those are the drivers eligible for the next race. So that's how it works. Whichever one of those 4 drivers finish the best in the next race. That's how that deal works. The Hub's glory days were with Speed and rest in peace Steve Burns, but it's still a good show. Harvick's podcast is fine, but not a viable replacement for the Hub. Yeah, and their excuse for that is going to be you get your information from everywhere else now, so you don't need something like a produced show like that. But I think they're wrong, and I hope Amazon proves them wrong by not only doing these documentaries that Amazon is going to do, but also by doing a actual studio show. The Hub is going to be replaced with an online show that will be daily. Says Duke Chronic. I think that's the way to go, and I think a lot of people in the community already know that. I know a few guys that are already sort of pushing to go that way. So we'll see. We'll see. Tire strategy would have been way more interesting with no predetermined cautions. Yeah, I think so too, Napper. I really do. Basically, just say that you have to change tires or make the tire fall off so great that you do have to have at least one green flag pit stop. But other than that, I think the brakes in it just they just make the racing so choppy. I've heard of I've heard if there's gambling in the sport, it's rigged or partially rigged. Says next gen. Well, it's harder to rig a race than it would be to rig like a basketball game. The referees can rig a basketball game. The only thing you can really do in racing is let certain teams get away with certain things. So from that perspective, you would have like 10 cars, but even then, like the other teams would find a way to prove that the other guy was cheating. So I'm not saying that there aren't certain things that can be engineered in a race because there certainly are, like cautions. But that being said, it's harder. It's harder to get 44 idiots to agree that one guy's going to win a race. So it's pretty hard to rig an actual race for the winner. Cautions are for commercials. Plus, with current short track package, they may fear that it could be boring otherwise. Which, once again, instead of fixing the short track package, they tried to fix something else. So that's all I'm saying about that. 1,400 horsepower next gen, saying more money. I'm guessing BB wants Scott Dixon or Laughlin, probably Kyle Larson to win the Indy 500. And also Kyle Kirkwood. Kyle Kirkwood, strong IndyCar driver, strong first name. So pulling for the 2 Kyles once again in IndyCar. We're pulling for the 2 Kyles and also Scott Dixon or Scott McLaughlin. You are correct, sir. So yeah, I like your picks there, and that's exactly who I'm pulling for. If you did a 5 race Winston style points in the season championship from Darlington to Nashville, last year's winner was KFB. Hey, there you go. There you go. So for all the people that are like RCR sucks, there you go. There are some statistics right there that you can look at that shows you that RCR does not, in fact, suck, except at short tracks. Hopefully they get that figured out. But hopefully NASCAR gets it figured out as well. Anybody named Kyle or Scott, nice. Says in between the lanes for sure. As in full season points format, says Cody Ledger. How does Harvick do in the 5 for practice and qualifying? I mean, I'm sure he'll get them set up pretty decent. Kyle Larson's just going to go out there and absolutely mash it and try to get the most out of it. So whatever he's got, he's going to get the most out of it. And Kevin Harvick's the perfect guy to set it up for anybody, really. Newgarden will win the Indy 500. I mean, if I had to guess who's going to win, eventually Alex Palou is going to break through and win. I would say, but that would be if I'm guessing. But I'm not pulling for him, so I'll just be honest with you there. And I don't know enough about IndyCar to give an expert opinion. Nothing against Alex Palou. I'm just pulling for the 2 Kyles and the 2 Scotts. Austin Dillon needs to retire, so someone who can win can drive the 3. I mean, Austin Dillon's won in the 3. He's got a handful of crown jewels. I understand people saying that, but has Austin Hill looked any better in his starts in the 33? To be totally honest with you, not really. So the people that want to replace him with Austin Hill, he hasn't looked any better just yet. That being said, Austin Dillon has not liked this new car at all. I will give you that, and also I will say the other people that they want to put in the 3 car, would they go over to RCR? That's a better question too. So I mean, It's equal. It's equal on both sides. Let's see. David Land is at the Brickyard getting ready for the 500. Yep, that's this. This is his Super Bowl moment. He is always there on the money with the coverage there. So shout out to him, always doing a good job. He also did a podcast with the Next Gen creators. So if you want to hear a full interview of David Land, go check out Joshua Lapowski on Twitter, and you can find the link via him, or you can just go to the Daily Downforce and check it out there. Next Gen Creators, full interview with David Land. There's also a full interview with Breakhard. So if you want to check that one, they came out sort of back to back, I want to say. So check both of those out. Kyle didn't get to do any proper laps today. He turned a few laps. Somebody said earlier, but yeah, I didn't pay any attention to it. Mark Barnum, the drive for 5 says in between the lanes. Land doesn't like the tourney either. More playoffs, great. Hey, there we go. Me and David Land on an island, not liking it at all. So there we go. We're the two old men shouting at the children on the lawn. I'm glad somebody else doesn't like it and has actually spoken up about it. We need an old school show like Hub. The podcast is getting too isolated. That's the last thing NASCAR needs, is to fragment its audience that much. You need a singular shell with gravity, a singular show with gravity. So yeah, what's happening is the same thing that happens in everything. They've seen the Dale Jr. download. They see the numbers that the Dale Jr. download gets, and they've seen basically how much money Dale Jr. download can make. And so now everybody is trying to copy the Dale Jr. download. So you're going to have everybody and their brother trying to do what the Dale Jr. download did. And to me, the Dale Jr. download is an outlier simply because it's Dale Jr. People are going to tune in because he's Dale Jr. Nothing against Kevin Harvick, but Kevin Harvick's not the 16-time world champion of the fans, like the fan vote, most popular driver. So the Dale Jr. download works because it's Dale Jr. I don't know. There's only maybe a handful of drivers, and Kevin Harvick is one of them. So he's not a great example, but there's only a handful of drivers that could probably carry it like Dale Jr. carries it. But Kevin Harvick actually is one of them. Tony Stewart would be another one. There are a handful of guys with the personality to do it. Carson Hocevar, by the time he retires, he's going to be one of them. Ross Chastain probably at some point would be able to carry one when he retires. Joey Logano would actually, not a lot of people think about it, but Joey Logano could carry one. Denny Hamlin, if he ever makes it a regular habit of having guests on his show, I think he could carry it. But just Denny talking to his cameraman, I don't think that's going to survive for a long period of time. He does eventually need to have guests on that show. And to be totally honest, I would do basically, and this is all because of Joe Rogan. So I'm going to go to Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan initially just had fighters on his show, and then he started having comics, and then he started having people from all over the place. The next step for Dale Jr. needs to be having people from all over the place. I know he's had Stone Cold and a few other people on there, but he needs to branch out and get a few more of those people in there like that as well. And also stop canceling the show for the off season. If you really wanted it to, not necessarily Dale Jr., but if you really want that podcast to take off, you need to keep doing it in the off season as well. And that's when you could have your other guys in there that aren't necessarily related to racing, and you could branch out, and that just expands the audience. Because what that's going to do, that's going to grab people who don't care about racing, and then they see something on there. When you have a race car driver on there, they're like, oh, I like this guy, so I might actually watch a NASCAR race. To me, that's going to be the ultimate what somebody needs to do, whether it's Dale Jr., Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, or whoever. Eventually, that's what somebody's going to need to do. And that'll be bigger for the sport than anything else. Because the reason people are watching F1 now is because they had a documentary on Netflix that reached more people than F1 ever could have reached. Just like these podcasts, you need to have people that aren't just race car. You're making it too isolated. Like I forgot who said that earlier. Have people that aren't necessarily race car fans on the podcasts as well, because that's gonna reach a bigger audience. So I think that's the next move for these guys that have well-established podcasts. NASCAR could buy IndyCar and their tracks. That would be a massive deal. It would be. We'll have to see what happens there. I like podcasts, but there's become too many, says Napa Race fan. Yeah, and that's what I was getting at. There's going to be even more now. There's going to be an even bigger oversaturation of it. Online, you don't have the show if it's online. So tube sticks in there. DBC sounds like SHR is going away. I think a lot of people think that, and that's probably going to be probably the way it's going to go. There's no other reason they would put their building up for sale as well if they weren't going away. So I would lean toward that is probably what's going to happen. But let's just sit back and wait and see what actually happens. And no need to speculate. The problem is that TV doesn't like people like Jimmy Spencer, Paul Tracy, and Kyle Petty anymore. Everyone has to be vanilla now. NASCAR TV doesn't like that. uh, YouTube thrives. YouTube flourishes with people like Denny Spencer, Paul Tracy, and Kyle Petty. So Kyle Petty's one that could actually carry one. He's got coffee with Kyle. He could if he really wanted to push that on YouTube and just go out there and just go all the way for it, he could. But you're gonna have a team behind him because Kyle Petty, he's never been into being the man. He doesn't I don't think he loves the attention, but I think he has the personality and the talent to take it to another level. So if you could set it up where he just comes in and films, and then goes about his merry way and continues to ignore it, but he would have to have the right team in place. So he'll be another one. Why do dirt track racers seem to be better? Dale Jarrett would be another one, by the way. Be better at 1.5 mile tracks. Example: Reddick and Larson. I think they just learned car control and learning how to search for grooves. I think that's the advantage that dirt racers have. SHR is doing good lately, says Next Gen. They are doing good, but if the rumors are true that they're putting the building up for sale, that means that they're probably going away. I hate all the new stuff. I'm still stuck in the 90s and early 2000s. I miss the cool paint scheme being brought out at the Winston. Just so much, in my opinion, and it's too much change. Yeah, I think a lot of people feel like that. Apparently, if you need to ask the question to Patrick Beverly, you got to subscribe to the podcast. Says in between the lanes. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about all that. Same here, Jim. The early 2000s were peak. Tom Green was before Joe Rogan. Tom Green was before Joe Rogan, but Tom Green, I don't think has Joe Rogan numbers, to be fair. I'm not talking about who was the first person to do it. I'm talking about who's the best person to do it. And I would have to say, as much as I like Tom Green, Joe Rogan by far has been the best to do it so far in the podcast realm. I agree with keeping shows running in the off season, but they probably, I think most listeners are completely off to the NFL by then. It would be easy to do because all you got to do is record the it's called batch recording. You just record like however long the off season is. What is it, 12 or 14 months? You just record 12 episodes. So you would do like 2 episodes a day for 12 weeks or 12 days, however you want to do it. You batch record it, and then you're not really there. It's just a pre-recorded release, and you release that on your off month. So you would still get your off season. You would just have to double up for a couple of weeks in the regular season. Chase Elliott fan pulling for Larson at Indy. Says Jim Franklin. Yeah, I think a lot of NASCAR fans are going to pull for old Larson. Denny Spencer says in between lanes. Let me say this: Dirty Mo does a great job with their podcast, but I don't have time to listen to all 7 or 8 of them every week. Says Napa Race fan. Yeah, so they're going with the model of just maximum content. There's always something to watch. You'll never be, unless you're an insane person, you'll never be able to watch all of them. But they're going to make sure everybody has something to watch, and it's always going to be new content. They're pushing stuff out there, and it's always going to be tons of content. It'd be sad to see, and for the most part, it's well produced. It'd be sad to see SHR completely back out with 4 fairly good, to potentially great, or good drivers. Barry to the 33, Barry 33rd to 3rd on Sunday was extremely impressive. Yeah, and that's why I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. We need to see what actually happens with SHR, but that's what I'm saying. If the rumors are true that they're putting the building up for sale, it would lend you to believe that they are thinking about selling out. But there's so many moving pieces in that deal that it's like the Marvel multiverse. You can go any direction you want to with it. So I'm not really going to jump in there. I'm not going to turn this into the Kyle Busch, where's he going off season deal. I'm just going to let it play out, and we'll see what happens over there. And when whatever happens, I'll talk about it then, because there's so many moving pieces over there. It's impossible. That occurred during the post-game interview with Patrick Beverly. Yeah, so that's interesting. BJ Penn used to do that. He said for the rest of the interview, go to bjpenn.com. Back in the day, thoughts on the possibility of Trackhouse acquiring Colleague. We talked about that months ago on here. Yeah, for sure. I think it's probably going to happen. I think that's the reason Colleague changed their logo to black and blue. So I feel like that one is more of a sure thing, because you know who's going to go over there. It's going to be Zane Smith. It's going to be SVG. Daniel Hemrick's probably going to be out, and then you're just going to keep Suarez and Ross Chastain in the one. Evening, guys. I was shocked and sad to hear that our race hub got canceled, says Douglas Serrano. Yeah, that definitely is a bummer. I miss speed. We all miss speed. We need speed. We were told programming wouldn't be dumped for FS1. 10 years later, the hub finally gets canned. Yep, that was the final vestige. I usually check out the teardown on DBC just because they're usually released first, says Dirty Death. Barry's run was great, but I thought Haley was a driver of the day, 28th to 9th at Darlington for Rick Ware Racing. Yeah, that was, it's like I said, I think that's the best finish I've ever seen at a non-super speedway for Rick Ware Racing. So kudos to Justin Haley and Rick Ware Racing for getting their program up to par. I think Barrett Jackson was on speed as well. Cool to see Mike Joy wearing the speed suit for Throwback Weekend. That was pretty cool. I think that was basically in memoriam of the last vestige of Speed Channel going away. RCR looked like crap at Darlington. It happens from time to time. Teams miss it. They missed it at Darlington, but they've traditionally been good at mile and a halfs and stuff like that. They just need to work on their short track package. All right. Looks like we've reached the end of the chat. So that's going to be the end of this one. Tony Stewart, your favorite driver in the modern era that was a driver owner, by 55% over Bradley Aaron Keselowski at 24%, Robbie Gordon 10%, and James Dennis Allen Hamlin, the law firm of James Dennis Allen and Hamlin, is 11%. That's pretty cool. He finished at 11%. All right. That's the end of this one. I'll check you guys on the pre-race on Sunday, and we'll get some videos up in between then. Thanks for your time. Peace.